Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be reacting to the very famous music-related movie, Whiplash. Now, just to give you a short summary of what this is about. So this is about a young jazz drummer who's going through music conservatory, and he's trying to study to be one of the greats, one of the best drummers in the world. But while he's going through this music school, he's dealing with this very, very cruel and hard-ass band director, very abusive guy. This movie is based on a true story. It's actually based on a high school jazz band program in New Jersey. Not going to say which district it was because I'm a classy guy, but it is based on a true story. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Matt Brockman. I'm a former Army Band trumpet player. Now I make trumpet content, music content full time to help you out. And I thought it would be fun to make this video because I've been to music school myself. I can kind of give my insights of what's realistic, what's more Hollywood magic. So share my insights on that, and it'll be fun. So let's just get into it.
What's your name?
And your name, sir?
What year are you?
I'm first year.
You know who I am?
Yes, sir.
So you know I'm looking for players.
Yes, sir.
Then why did you stop playing?
All right, so this looks like a very late night practice session, which is very common in music school. So usually after 8 or 9 o'clock, most of everyone goes home, and then there's always a few who are very ambitious who are practicing very late. I was that guy. I would stay up till like 1 in the morning sometimes because usually the big concert halls were unattended and you could just practice it with them and get all the reverb and the echo. So I was one of those people who would stay in the building past midnight. So that's realistic. What I will say is a little maybe Hollywood is you usually won't see faculty in the buildings that late. Because these guys, they have families, they go home to their wives and kids and everything, or husbands. But I almost never saw faculty still in the building at these hours, besides like custodians and janitors, but that doesn't count. So when I saw this movie the first time, I'm like, oh, I don't see that when I went to school. So I just thought I'd say that.
Did I ask you to start playing again?
Sorry,
I asked
I
why
misunderstood.
you stopped playing, and your version of an answer was to turn into a wind-up monkey.
Sorry, I thought.
Show me your rudiments.
Yes, sir.
Oopsie daisy. Forgot my jacket.
And if you thought that was mean, it only gets worse.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. All right. Let's do Billy's in from the top. Yes? Yes?
That's good.
All right. 1, 2, 3,
Yeah, so that's usually how it is with conservatories or music schools where with their jazz band programs there's like the top jazz band, then there's like maybe like a middle level jazz band, and then there's a lower level jazz band, just based on where you're seated, how you place in the auditions. So it looks like in the beginning this is like the lower level one, because as you can see, like it's not a full big band. Maybe I only saw like 2 trumpet players. So this looks like the lower tier, and he's turning pages. So he's at like the bottom of the ladder right now, which is usually just how it is. You got to work your way up or place better on the next audition to move yourself up that ladder. Like I relate to this too, because like when I was in music school, like I didn't start off on the top. Actually, my very first seating audition was bad because I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to take an audition at that time. But like I remember just looking in on the higher level groups and being like, wow, I really wish I was part of that, and just made it my goal to be in those groups, and it happened once I made that the goal. Looks like Buddy Rich. Yep. If you don't know who Buddy Rich is, he's probably like one of the most famous jazz drummers of all time. He was known for crazy technique. Like if you just look up YouTube videos of Buddy Rich, like he can do things that most other drummers can't. Like he's just a legend. He's kind of like the Wynn Marsalis or the Louis Armstrong of the trumpet world. Yeah, like I said before, it looks like there's some people missing. Like it looks like there's only two trumpets, there's one trombone, maybe there's a saxophone missing. So it does look like this is like the lower tier group.
Down the line, trumpets bar 7 and 8. 3, 4. 3, 4. Okay, all right.
All right, so obviously that's not real trumpet playing. That's like probably told the actor who recorded that part to play that as badly as freaking possible. Because I mean, that's obviously not an honest trumpet effort. That's just told the guy just sound as bad as you can.
Okay, all right. Well, you're in the first chair. Let's see if it's just because you're cute. 3, 4. Yep, that's why.
All right. Well, maybe she got nervous. Like this guy's obviously freaking people out, like calling people down the line like that, and I could see why she would come in late like that just because of nerves. Like it's happened to me before, but obviously some sexism in here, but you know, it's yeah.
Behind. Same thing. Bass. 5 bars of Donnelly.
Yeah, overall, he's just not giving people enough time to really get a fair analysis of how well they play. Sure, like there is a thing like if you're in an audition and you're like on the audition panel, you usually can tell by the first couple of notes how good of a player the person is. But especially with something like the drumming, like you need to give it time for it to settle to actually know if the drummer's good or not, if they can keep that consistent time, that consistent feel. Like the half a second that he gave them. To me, that's just not enough to give a fair assessment.
Room B16 tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Don't be late.
I see you in here a lot, and I think that you're really pretty. And would you want to go out with me? Ever?
Please go away.
Oh, awkward.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm just messing with you.
She's
Oh my God.
clever.
Bye.
Got that rush of confidence. He just got asked to play for the top tier group, so finally had the confidence to do that. I love that. Have you ever been there before where you slept past your alarm and then you were late to class for whatever reason? I mean, it would be a lie if I said I've never done that. I mean, I remember days in college where I was up to like 1 or 2 in the AM, 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. doing homework. And then I'd be so exhausted that I'd sleep through the alarm and miss my morning class. So that has happened to me before, but something like this where like he's trying to make a good impression first time playing with this group. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, so he told him 6 a.m. just to be a dick.
Get a nap?
Alright, so the mouthpiece buzzing, it didn't sound very professional. Like it didn't have any top end to that sound. Usually you hear that, you hear those high frequencies when you do a good mouthpiece buzz. And let's talk about this case. So this looks very much like a case I wouldn't expect a professional trumpet player to use. Like usually a professional has like the shoulder straps. They have like one of those soft cases that can fit multiple trumpets in there. But this case looks like a textbook example of like what would come with a beginner trumpet. So I think this is Hollywood right here. Like if I were to go to music school and these aspiring professional trumpet players wouldn't be carrying around their trumpets in this case. I know it sounds like a very small and minor and maybe a pointless detail, but this is little things like that that stand out to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, so in case you didn't know, drums need to be tuned too. So each one of the toms and the snare too even have a set pitch that they need to be tuned to. And a good drummer has his drums tuned. A good drummer is going to know this. Ah, that wasn't a good tuning session. Let me hear that again. Yeah, that doesn't sound flat at all. So, like I like to tell people that if you really want to sound professional, tune your instrument to whatever the reference pitch is. If that's 440, or if you're playing in an orchestra, maybe it's just a tiny bit sharper than that. But make sure that you're in tune to that reference pitch before the rehearsal gives that tuning note. Like, it shows competence, it shows professionalism, and what I say is that the point of the tuning note at the beginning of the rehearsal or the performance is to agree. So if you sound that out of tune, usually not a good look. Just gonna say that. And some of those sounds too, some of those reedy saxophone sounds, like for the top group in a top conservatory like this, like Schaefer's obviously a made up conservatory, but it's supposed to represent like one of the top music schools in the country. But those weren't good saxophone tones for this kind of a caliber group. So again, this is more Hollywood right here. Does he have a coat and a hat rack just for him? So this is a really well trained group. Like, the less chit chat there is in a rehearsal, the more professional it usually is. Like, if you go to like a professional group like this, they're usually super respectful. They're not having side conversations during the rehearsal. No one's on their phone, and you couldn't hear a pin drop when the director's trying to lead the group and get something done. So I would say this is realist. This is like their ideal expectations of a professional group. Um, I know, in community bands and high school groups, it's relaxed. People are joking around, smoking and joking, and having side conversations and everything. But this is like textbook of what rehearsal etiquette looks like. They're also scared out of their minds because this guy's crazy. But yeah, that's just the look on the trumpet players' faces. Like, these guys are terrified. Like, they are afraid to make any mistakes. And I felt this way before. Like, I've had a conductor before where I couldn't play well because I was so afraid to make a mistake. So, if you want to have a good atmosphere, like if you're a leader of a group and you want to have a good atmosphere, there needs to be some room for error. Like, people can't fear for their lives if they make a mistake. Otherwise, they're not going to play at their farthest potential. And as you can see, like, these guys are terrified. And I felt that way before, where like I've had solos and I've had a conductor be a super hard ass on me, and I couldn't play to the best of my ability. Like, I was terrified because of the way he would potentially react if I would mess up. So, not a good atmosphere to set if you're a conductor or a director or anything, and you want the group to play at its maximum potential. Yeah, these guys are terrified.
Barker, that is not your boyfriend's dick. Do not come early. Bar 93.
All right, so obviously, with Title IX laws and things like that these days, I mean, that would get someone fired very quickly. But even like when I was in the Army band, when I was in basic training, like the drill sergeants are not allowed to talk like that anymore. And you would think that drill sergeants can say whatever they want, but they're not allowed to talk like that anymore. Like, that would be considered like sexual harassment, and they would lose their jobs. So obviously this guy's very abusive, and obviously today that kind of language would instantly get someone fired.
Now
Now, this one really upsets me. We have an out-of-tune player here. Before I continue, would that player care to identify himself? Whoever it is, this is your last chance. And there it went. Now,
See, sometimes it's hard to tell. I mean, obviously, the whole point that he's trying to make here is that if you don't know that you're out of tune, that's worse than actually being out of tune. Like, you have to have the ears and the situational awareness to know whether you're in tune or not. But sometimes I will say it is hard to tell, because sometimes you feel like you're right, but you also have this inner doubt that you could be out of tune, that you could be wrong, especially in a big group like this where there's so much sound going on around you. So there's always that inner doubt. And whenever, like, I'm playing in a group and something in the group isn't right, something in the group isn't in tune, I always try to blame myself before I blame someone else. I'm like, oh, is it me? Is it me? And then I'll listen harder to make sure it's not me before I try to correct something with the group. So I can see, like, the silence and the awkwardness and the potential confusion if the director were to say something like this. This is a very famous scene in the movie, and you'll see what's going to happen.
either you are deliberately playing out of tune and sabotaging my band, or you don't know you're out of tune, which I'm afraid is even worse. Reeds. 5, 6, 8. Bones. 5, 6, and. He's here.
See, like, he's being super nitpicky, because to my ears, that didn't sound that out of tune. Like, if someone didn't point it out, I probably wouldn't even notice that there was some sort of pitch inaccuracy. But from passing on, if I were just casually listening, I would say that was in tune. So he's being super, super picky. And it's good to be detail-oriented, yes, but when you're this picky, like I said before, it starts to make people afraid to play. Because it just creates this vibe where just playing music isn't fun anymore. Like, if you're afraid to play your instrument, oh my god, like, what's the point? Like, we do this because it's enjoyable, because it's fun, right? So, yeah, let's just keep going.
Here. Tell me it's not you, Elmer Fudd. It's okay. Play.
Okay, so let's go back here. So that is not a real embouchure. That's a pucker. That's a kissy face. So yeah, his corners need to be tighter, one, but the lips don't pucker like that when we make an embouchure. It's more like we're making an M with our mouth. So obviously this guy's an actor. He's not a real trombone player. The sounds coming out of his trombone are someone else, not him. But again, one of these little nerdy details that I pick up.
Yes.
Then why the fuck didn't you say so?
Yeah, it's literally making the kid cry. Like we become musicians and go to music school and everything because we enjoy it, because we want to have fun. But these kinds of moments make people want to quit forever. And I get, like, we're trying to be our best for the professional world and everything, but to me, there's a line. Obviously, this is an extreme example, but I have seen directors in the past, or conductors, that have made people feel bad enough about their playing in themselves that they quit altogether, and they gave up what could have been a very rewarding and happy career. So, man.
I've carried your fat ass for too long, Mets. I'm not gonna have you cost us a competition because your mind's on a fucking Happy Meal instead of on pitch. Jackson, congratulations, you're fourth chair. Metz, why are you still sitting there? Get the fuck out! For the record, Metz wasn't out of tune. You were, Erickson. But he didn't know. And that's bad enough.
Classic scene. Probably the most famous scene of the entire movie. Like, this is... Yeah.
All right, take 10. When we get back, the squeaker's on.
Yeah, what a way to, like, set up someone's first time playing with this group. Like I said before, like, I would be absolutely shitting my pants if I were playing this group for the first time after witnessing that. Like, I wouldn't be playing my best. So, obviously, this guy's getting set up for failure here.
Listen, the key is to just relax. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about what the other guys are thinking.
Yeah, it's just... Oh, it bothers me so much because, like, he sets this vibe in his rehearsals where no one can relax. Like, when he came in, you saw everyone was, like, snapped to attention. Like, they're in the military. Everyone was looking down, so scared of this guy. Like, no one can relax in this environment. Especially, like, this trombone player who was allegedly a little out of tune. He wasn't even out of tune. But if just a little micro out of tune, then he's going to throw, like, a freaking tantrum. So, and now he's saying just relax and just listen to everyone and enjoy. Like, oh my God. And you're going to see where he goes with this. Like, he's, like I said before, he's setting him up for failure. Like, we're learning about his family so that he can use that against him later.
Are 17 the and of 4? Got it? 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, so like I'm saying before, like, this isn't really a fair assessment because something like tempo, sometimes it takes time to settle. Like, his cues are like, So there is something called, like, a human reaction time. Like, the brain needs a certain amount of time to process before the body can give a physical reaction. So that's why, like, there's the test where, like, if you take a dollar bill and place it above someone's hands and suddenly release it, they're never going to be able to catch it because there's that human reaction timing. So for something like this, he needs to give at least a measure or two for the tempo to settle before he can really make an assessment if this guy is rushing or dragging. Obviously, like, he's trying to be a dick, essentially. Like, he's trying to ruin this guy's life. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Like, to assess, like, tempo in a very honest way, like, it needs just a little bit more time for things to lock in to really tell if someone gets it or not.
Ready? Okay. 5, 6, and. Dragging just a hair.
Like, it's super close too. Like, yes, he was dragging there, but, like, it was so close where it shouldn't even matter. But, and like I said, it's good to be detail oriented, but to a certain level, music doesn't become fun to play anymore when we go at it that. So I had a jazz band director when I was in college who was kind of like this. Like, this guy was a drummer, and like, the band would just play 2 measures of whatever chart we're working on, and he would stop the band after a measure or 2. Sometimes, like, after 2 beats, and be like, no, this is all wrong, do it again. And then we'd spend, like, the entire 2-hour rehearsal working on, like, 4 measures of the tune, because it was just super detail oriented. Like, to really get that feel down, it takes extreme attention to detail, and it's just got to be part of you. So that's why this guy would do this. Is like, he if it didn't sound right within 2 measures, then the whole piece was going to sound wrong, essentially. So I had a director that was like this. It was frustrating in the, because as the musicians in the rehearsal, we want to have fun. We want to play more music and everything. But I see why he did it, to really get that attention of detail. But it turned out good. Like, during our concerts, we sounded great. We sounded fantastic. It sounded super well refined. So there is a right way to do this, but there's also a very not ethical way to do this, as you see in this movie. So I have heard of this happening before, of band directors like getting physical before. Like when I was in high school, there was apparently a director who got fired from my high school right before my actual band director got his job, maybe about 3 or 4 years before I was the student at that school. But he was known for like throwing mallets and throwing drumsticks at the students when he got mad at them for like doing something like missing a cue or rushing or playing a wrong note or playing out of tune or something. And there was a time where like we were, this is what I've been told, like I wasn't in the group at the time, but the high school went up to Boston to do like a jazz festival, to do a performance up there. And then the guy was screaming and cursing at the band because like apparently they weren't playing to his standard and they were embarrassing him, where the band parents and the parents of the students got so mad at this guy where they literally left him there. Like everyone got on the bus and they made sure that the director wasn't on the bus, and then they just took off without him and left him in Boston. And like the group was in Central Jersey, so it was like 6-7 hours away. But I've heard stories of directors throwing stuff at people for things like this. Not as bad as a chair or a cymbal, but like I've heard of throwing drumsticks, mallets, things like that. The conductor baton. So I've heard of this happening before.
Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
I don't know.
Sure you do.
The tempo?
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
Yeah, and the whole point he's trying to make is that you got to be self-aware. Like if you don't know you're out of tune, that's just as bad as actually being out of tune. If you don't know if you're out of time, rushing or dragging, that's as bad as actually being out of time. It's all about self situational awareness as a musician. And I see the point that he's trying to make because it's extremely important. Like you need to be able to listen and match with the group and make sure that you're in time and in tune. But he takes it to this drill sergeant extreme. Like it's crazy.
Start counting.
5, 6,
In
7.
4, damn it! Look at me!
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. So this is like as along with the innuendos that he was saying, and this would instantly get someone fired. Like even army drill sergeants aren't allowed to hit people anymore. Like they would get thrown in jail for putting their hands on someone, even army drill sergeants. So, yeah.
1, 2, 3. No.
Was I rushing or was I dragging? Count again.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 4.
Rushing or dragging?
Rushing.
So you do know the difference. If you deliberately sabotage my band, I will fuck you like a pig. Now, are you a rusher or are you a dragger? Or are you gonna be on my fucking time?
I'm gonna be on your time.
What does that say?
Yeah, and just like, again, 5-10 minutes ago, he's telling him, yeah, just relax, have fun, be a good time, listen to everyone. So he's obviously setting him up to crush him and destroy him like this. This is hard to watch.
Start practicing harder, Neiman. Whiplash, bar 125, big boy tempo.
And also, it's his first time playing with the group. Like, it's one thing to practice it on your own, but like, yeah.
5, 6, 8.
That's kind of funny. Like, you can always see the musicians walking across the street. It's a very New York City thing. Like, if you get on a subway, you can always spot the musicians by the big cases, especially the string players. So that kind of made me laugh, smile a little bit just looking at that. Yeah, so don't over practice. I mean, obviously, this is showing like the whole mental insanity of being grinding this hard as a musician, especially after you've just been called out like that and you just want to be the best. Like I've had some brutal practice experiences after I've been called out for like a solo or something during a rehearsal, and then I'd spend the next night up all night practicing. But I have torn my lip before because of overpractice. I had to cancel my senior recital. It was that bad. So don't overpractice. Like, it can really hurt you in the long run. So jazz competitions, this is not something I really saw much of in college. Like, competitive music, that's more of like a high school thing from what I've seen. And like I said before at the beginning, like, this movie is based off a New Jersey high school jazz program. Not saying which one, but these jazz festivals, these jazz competitions were very common when I was in high school in New Jersey. Like, we went to them all the time. Like, each season we went to like 7 or 8 of them. So this is bringing back high school memories right here.
Who they're interested in and who they're not. And I am not going to have my reputation in that department tarnished by a bunch of fucking limp dick, sour note, flattered on their girlfriends, flexible tempo dipshits. Got it?
Great pep talk. Great way to hype your band up for a performance. I'm sure they really want to play now. It makes me mad.
One more thing. Eugene, give me that. If I ever find one of these lying around again, I swear to fucking God, I will stop being so polite. Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
So I've seen people lose their music before performances. I've seen people like walk on stage without their folders and they just played as much as they could remember. I've seen it happen before, and it's the worst feeling in the world when either you show up to a performance without the music, or maybe like your mouthpiece is sitting on your desk at home, or maybe you bring the wrong instrument. I've seen that happen before, like someone brought a C trumpet instead of a B flat to a gig. Just they were in a rush getting to the gig. It's the worst feeling in the world when it happens to you. So
Stage right in order now.
I need to look at the music. Oh, yeah, it's right here. Why isn't it on you? Where's the folder? You're joking, right? I have no... No, I literally... No, I swear, I just had it here 2 seconds ago. No. It's gotta be around here. Did you see it?
How could you be so fucking stupid?
I know, maybe a janitor came by or something.
A janitor?
Yeah.
Find the fucking folders! A fucking janitor! You're a dumb fuck! A dumb fuck! Find the folder!
I'm sorry.
yeah, never trust someone else with your music or your instrument. Just general rule. But you can see how, like I said before, it's the worst feeling in the world when you don't have everything you need for the gig. That's how this guy's feeling right now. Like, someone lost his music. He's freaking out. So I would freak out too if someone lost my music and I didn't have everything memorized.
Tanner, are you a fucking statue? Let's go. Get off the stool.
It's called a throne in the drum world.
So how's the drumming going, Andy?
Yeah, it's going really well. I'm the new core drummer, so...
Did you hear it yet?
No, what happened? Drive got named this year's MVP.
That's fantastic, Travis.
Yeah, so this is pretty normal family interaction as a musician. Big family gatherings like Thanksgiving, like, people don't look at the musician in the family and expect them to be doing great things. That's just kind of how it is. Like, the football star or the guy who just got into this Ivy League school with a scholarship, that's going to get all the praise in the world. But you tell your Aunt Susie that, yeah, I'm going to music school, and she kind of just looks at you like, okay, good luck with that. Yeah, this one hits me a little bit, so.
Sharp by the door on your way out. Rehearsal 9 p.m. sharp tonight. That's how long you have to learn it.
9 p.m. rehearsal, that's something I've never heard of before. I mean, I've never had a rehearsal start that late, so that's a little crazy.
But they didn't see what I saw. This scared, skinny kid cursing himself because he couldn't get his scales right. I saw a drive in him, and I put him in studio band. And when he graduated, Marsalis made him third trumpet at Lincoln Center. A year later, he was first. And that's who you're listening to now. His name was Sean Casey.
And it's something like not sure how, obviously probably not a real person, but a point that a lot of professors are looking for, and when you're auditioning for these schools, is they're looking for potential. I mean, sure, like if you're applying to Juilliard, obviously you need to be an amazing player before you get in to be accepted for a school like that. But for a lot of these schools, even Juilliard, even these top tier schools, they're looking for potential. They're looking for that drive. Can you become an amazing player? Can you become one of the greats? Not are you already there? And that's just a really comforting thought that I took in when I was taking my music school auditions, is that they're looking for potential. They're looking for that drive. And if you can demonstrate that you have that drive and that potential, then that's good for you. And it doesn't matter as much of where you're currently at, as long as you have the potential to get that good result.
Conley, get your ass back on the kit. We will stay here for as long as it takes until one of you faggots can play in time. 1 and 2 and... Looks like that might be all night. Neiman? 1 and 2 and... Not my fucking tempo!
And like I said, like the more you do this, the less in time they're gonna play, because you're freaking them out. Like you're messing with them psychologically, which is not gonna make you play naturally. So, I hate this. I hate it so much.
What the fuck are you looking for? There's no pot of gold down there. Are you adjusting the seat, really? That's been your fucking problem the whole time, the seat height. So now you have it, right? Go.
It's kind of funny, but like musicians sometimes when they mess up, they start blaming things that aren't really the problem at all. Like if I, for example, if I were to mess up on trumpet, I might be like, "Oh, my valve is slow today," or I'm emptying the spit when there isn't actually any spit in there, something like that. That made me laugh.
You earned the part. Alternates, you want to clean the blood off my drum set? Okay, we can start now.
And now they got to start playing again. No, ever been late to a gig because of travel delays like this, where like the bus breaks down, or you get a flat tire, or anything like, or the trains are delayed or whatever? Leave a comment if that's ever happened to you. I've had a situation before where I was playing like a church gig, and I forgot to fill up I was already running late, just slow getting ready for it, and then I forgot to fill up my tank the night before, and I had to stop and get gas. I had to get off the highway, get gas, get on, and then I was so close to being late for this gig, like right on the hair. So make sure that your car has a full tank of gas the night before a gig. And yeah, he's paying for a rental car because he doesn't want to be late. Like he's willing to spend that much. Jeez.
No! What the hell was that noise? Okay, look, why don't you just tell Fletcher that I'm coming, you motherfucker!
Oh.
Oh my god, guys, just a couple more blocks. No, sir, you don't have to go anywhere. Sir, get off me.
This is craziness. Like leaving the scene of an accident after like a major car wreck. He's bleeding all over the place and still tries to get on stage. Like he's pretty much committing a felony, like hitting a truck like that and then running away from it. So, man. So obviously, I don't think anyone would be stupid enough to do this in real life. This is Hollywood right here. But yeah, that's crazy. So that's pretty good acting. So the drummer, if you don't know, the actor is actually a real jazz drummer. And like you can hear he sounds like a little off. You can hear he sounds a little behind from the bass. So that's really good acting on his part to like purposely be off by that. But like not enough where it's like it sounds, fake, but enough where it's like you can feel that he's not on his best. So that's pretty good right there. I've seen drummers drop their sticks mid-performance, and either they're like drumming with one hand and picking it up with the other one, or if there's an alternate, then the alternate's got their back. They just, pick up the stick for them and help them out. Or I've seen the director sometimes help the drummer out if they drop the stick. But I have seen that happen before where during a performance they drop their sticks. So I've never seen uh I've heard of it, but I've never seen it myself where like during a live stage performance where the director will cut off the ensemble like that just cuz disaster. I've never seen it, but I've heard of it happening before where just something went catastrophically wrong where they just had to stop the performance like that. I have heard of my college when they did the organ symphony. The symphony in my college did that, the St. Saëns organ symphony once, and the power went out during the performance, and they had to stop it because the power went out. That's happened, but I've also heard of just the band was just so off that they just had to stop. So it hasn't happened to me. I've never been in a band when it happened, but I have heard of this happening.
Does the name Sean Casey mean anything to you? You know of his death? Last month he hanged himself in his apartment.
It wasn't a car accident. It was a suicide. Probably tied to the way he was treated when he was in school with Fletcher.
What does that have to do with me?
Sean suffered from anxiety and depression. His mother claims it started during his time as Fletcher's student.
Yeah, so when I was in college, a lot of music students suffered from depression and anxiety as a result of being pushed hard when they were in school. So obviously this is an extreme case because this guy in particular was a madman, but it is common for music conservatory students to suffer from depression and anxiety from being pushed too hard and being expected too highly of them. But that's what I have to say about that. It's always interesting when I was at Ithaca, there were different, clubs and bars within the city, and sometimes you would see faculty playing at them, and it was always a cool experience, like seeing them out in the public doing performances. It was always a cool experience. I mean, this is obviously weird and uncomfortable because this guy is who he is, but it's always cool seeing your teachers perform live and just kind of hang out and be part of the public.
So imagine if Jones had just said, well, that's okay, Charlie. That was all right. Good job. But Charlie thinks to himself, well, shit, I did do a pretty good job. End of story. No bird. That to me is an absolute tragedy. But that's just what the world wants now. There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job.
All right, so I see what he's trying to say here. I'm saying, like, you can't settle for mediocrity. Like, you can't just be happy with you are. You got to keep growing. You got to keep pushing the limit and grow to your father's potential and even beyond that. And if you tell someone, all right, that was great, awesome job, then they're going to stay there. Like, there is some truth to that. But at the same time, there needs to be some positive affirmation. Otherwise, we're going to go freaking crazy. We're going to go insane. We're going to be depressed and get that anxiety that we talked about. And then playing music isn't going to be fun if we're constantly just all super negative about how we play. Like, we gotta have to enjoy it. So it's a mix of both. I see the point that he's making here, but there also needs to be a sprinkle of happiness in that as well. Otherwise, we're going to lose our freaking mind.
Maybe you go too far and you discourage the next Charlie Parker from ever becoming Charlie Parker.
No, man, no. Because the next Charlie Parker would never be discouraged.
So he kind of went into that a little bit, but yeah, you gotta be able to take criticism. You gotta be able to to fall in love with the journey, as they say, and not get discouraged and be able to recover from bad situations like this. Because the only way you're not going to reach your goals is either one, you quit, or two, you stop. No, one, you quit, or two, you die, is how the saying goes. So he's saying that the most successful people in the world, and this is not just in music, this is in all walks of life, the most successful people in the world do not quit. No matter how many roadblocks come their way, how many challenges they get, how many setbacks they get, they keep going and they keep driving forward. That's what he's trying to say here. Alright, so that was Whiplash. Really hope that you enjoyed this reaction video. Let me know down in the comments whether, if you're a music student, you had some flashbacks to music school, anything you could relate to, let me know in the comments. And if there's any other things you want me to react to in the future, please let me know down there as well. Thanks for watching this one. See you in the next one.